For the last 20 years, these four tech giants have quietly taken over one industry at a time. They've completely changed how we shop, work, communicate, get information, and in exchange for these conveniences, we've handed over our personal data. For many though, it's actually been a really worthwhile trade. But there is one industry that they haven't fully figured out yet. This industry is the last trillion-dollar frontier, where our most intimate data was still outside their reach. Until now. What happens when the companies that already know your habits, your searches, your voice, also know the diagnosis that you didn't really want anybody to learn about? In this video, we'll break down how Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon are moving into healthcare, what it means for the future of the system, and what happens when your most personal data becomes just another data point that they can reference. Let's dive in. Before we talk about the ways that these tech giants will change US healthcare and what that means for US businesses and the rest of us, I think we should actually take a look at the moves that they've already made. Historically, tech giants haven't been eager to rush into this space, and for good reason. US healthcare is a maze. It's super expensive, extremely fragmented, and really honestly one of the most regulated industries in the entire world. Plus, they've all watched other companies burn billions trying to fix healthcare. But at this point, the money is just simply too big to ignore. Healthcare spending in the US is pushing $4 trillion a year, and it's growing each year. And if there's one thing that these four don't really do is sit out on $1 trillion market, especially when others are already making their moves. But they've approached the industry from two very different angles. Amazon and Microsoft are entering in a more traditional way, while Google and Apple are entering through what I would say is a not yet fully regulated route, if that makes sense. I'll explain. Amazon acquired PillPack and One Medical, gaining a direct line into pharmacy operations and primary care clinics. They launched AWS for healthcare, giving hospitals a cloud platform to run records, analytics, and increasingly artificial intelligence. That's how we've ended up with Amazon Clinic, Amazon Pharmacy, and Amazon Health Lake, all feeding into a loop that brings Amazon closer to medical data. Microsoft took a similar but more infrastructure first route. Their acquisition of Nuance, the voice-to-text software most doctors already use, made Microsoft part of how clinical notes get created. They now offer AI tools for imaging, documentation, patient scheduling, and hospital operations. It's a system-level play that makes Microsoft indispensable inside the machine that is US healthcare. As I'm saying, I'm recognizing that this does sound like an ad, but nobody wants to pay me for this and it's not all positive. I do need to be clear, Amazon and Microsoft are not actually reading medical records themselves, but by buying healthcare companies and powering hospital infrastructure, they are positioning themselves right next to the most valuable, regulated data. And Apple and Google are coming at healthcare from a different angle, one that again is not fully regulated yet. Apple spent a decade turning the iPhone and watch into health devices. They added sensors, FDA-cleared ECGs, regular rhythm alerts, and built the health app as a central place to view it all. Through health records, users can import hospital data directly into their phones as well. Google took a more hybrid approach. On one side, it's building AI models for hospitals, image analysis, note generation, diagnostic tools. On the other, it owns Fitbit, one of the largest wearable health platforms, capturing heart rate, sleep, and daily movement across millions of users. Now here's the thing, despite what most people think, these four companies actually don't compete directly that often. They typically target industries where they have a great chance of developing what some might call a monopoly. And if the other three are there, that's probably not happening. So besides healthcare, there's really only two industries where all four go head to head, where the pie is big enough for all of them. And if we want a glimpse of what happens when these four go to war in the same industry, assuming they'll be successful in healthcare, we should take a look at those other industries to see what happened to them. Okay, so I recognize a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but Google, Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft have really only gone head-to-head in two other industries, consumer electronics and digital entertainment. With devices, all four ended up making their own hardware, so phones, watches, tablets, laptops, speakers, basically any consumer electronic they knew would make a killing. And the way that all four operated inside the industry had major consequences for pre-existing competitors. A lot of the older players just stopped trying to keep up because these four increased the speed of product cycles, causing those pre-existing companies to either niche down or leave the market entirely. For reference, BlackBerry is a cybersecurity company now. But for consumers, these products got you into each of Apple, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft's ecosystems. The more Apple products you own, the more it makes sense to keep buying Apple. But comparing consumer electronics to healthcare is difficult because healthcare is more regulated, more fragmented, and definitely resists fast iteration. But still, the moves that these four companies are making are starting to resemble the early stages of what they did to devices. Now, the second industry, entertainment. Over the past few years, all four of these companies have taken some kind of position in streaming and content. Apple has Apple TV, Amazon has Prime Video, Google has YouTube, and Microsoft has Xbox and Game Pass. Like with devices, the benefits for consumers have been pretty obvious. You can get access to content pretty quickly. On the flip side of that though, content is now so fragmented across so many different subscriptions. And with these large companies controlling much of the media pipeline, concerns arise over monopolistic behavior, censorship, or moderation power. But there's some commonalities between the two industries. Big tech basically enters a fragmented space, it builds something better, and then it slowly tries to pull everything into its orbit. At first, it seems like the market is getting more open and more innovative, but everything starts to consolidate, which brings us back to healthcare. If this follows the same trajectory as devices and media, the risk is that your medical data, arguably the most sensitive data you have, ends up governed by the same closed systems that already shape what you watch, what you buy, and what you search. It's not even close to being there yet, but if these four were to be successful in healthcare, would any of them be in a rush to simplify it or make it more transparent, especially when complexity protects profit margins in healthcare? If you found this video interesting and you'd like to see more like it in the future, please consider following for more. This is Tyler Takeover. Thanks for watching.